The language of the birds. In a certain city there was a merchant and his wife, and their son, who was wise beyond his years. He was called Vasily. Once all three were lunching together, and in a cage there was a nightingale singing over the table, singing so woefully that the merchant could not bear it, and he said, "If there ever were a man who could really tell me what that nightingale is saying, and the doom he is foreboding, I should like to meet him. I would give him in my life half of my possessions, and after my death I would bequeath him many goods." Then the little boy, who was only 6 years old, looked his father and mother fixedly in the eyes and said, "I know what the nightingale is singing, only I am frightened of saying it." "Speak out openly," said the father. And then Vasily said with tears, "The nightingale is foretelling that a time and season is coming when you will be my servants, when father will draw me water and mother will give me the towel to wipe my face and hands." These words made the merchant and his wife very angry, so they decided to get rid of their child. They built a little boat and in the dark of night put the sleeping boy into it and let it sail into the open sea. Just then the prophetic nightingale flew out of its cage into the boat and sat on the boy's shoulder. Then the boat came to the seashore, and a ship came to meet it with its sails spread. The master of the ship saw the boy, pitied him, adopted him, asked him questions, and promised to keep and love him as if he were his own son. The next day the boy said to his new father, "The nightingale foretells that a storm is brewing, which will break the masts and shatter the sails. You must go back to the port." But the master of the ship would not go, and a storm arose at once, and the masts were shattered and the sails tore down. But it was no good. What is ended cannot be mended, so new masts were built, and new sails were rigged, and they sailed on further. Again Vasily said, "The nightingale sings that there are 12 ships coming to meet us, all pirate ships, and they will take us prisoner." This time the master of the ship believed him and returned to the island, and he saw the 12 bold pirates go sailing by. So the master of the ship waited as long as need be, and then sailed further. Some time went by, not too much, not too little, and the ship arrived at the city, and, for very many years, in front of the palace of the king, a crow with his wife and child had been flying and screeching, giving no rest either by day or night. Whatever they did, whatever traps they set, they could not drive them off from the window. And so the king ordained that at every crossroad and at all harbours this notice should be exhibited: "If any man can drive away the crow with his wife and child from the royal windows, the king will grant him a reward of half his kingdom, and his youngest daughter as a wife. But if any shall undertake the work and shall not fulfill it, he shall forfeit his head." Very many were the hunters eager to become kinsmen of the king, and all of their heads had been hewn off and hung on stakes. Now Vasily heard of this, went up and asked the master of the ship, "Let me go to the king. Possibly I can chase away the crow and his wife." They endeavoured to deter him, but failed. "Very well, go, and if you come by any harm, put the blame on yourself." So Vasily came into the palace, talked to the king, and ordered the windows to be opened in front of which the crows were flying. He then listened to what the birds were saying, and told the king, "Your Majesty, you see that there are 3 flying here, the crow, Madam Crow, and Master Crow. The crow is disputing with his wife as to which of them the son belongs, whether to the father or the mother, and they are asking for a decision. Your Majesty must decide to whom it is the son belongs." The king answered, "To the father." As soon as the king had said this, the crow with Master Crow sailed to the right, but Madam Crow to the left. After this, the king took the youth unto himself, and he lived at the royal court and received the greatest kindness and honour, grew up and became a youth of youths, married the princess, and received half of the kingdom as a dowry. One day he thought he would like to journey to foreign parts and see strange lands, view the folks of the world and show himself. So he set out to roam through the world. In one city he stayed for a night, got up in the morning, and said he wished to wash. So the master brought him water, and the mistress brought him the towel. The king's son spoke with them, and then saw that they were his own father and mother. He wept for joy and fell at the feet of his parents. Afterwards he took them with him to his own city, and they lived together a long and happy life. The end.